Dr. Hantel, what primary findings in your study regarding inequities in clinical trial participation among minoritized race and ethnic groups with cancer at the comprehensive cancer centers?
So we performed a couple different studies on this. I think together they've collectively found that there are significant disparities in clinical trial participation among minoritized racial and ethnic groups at comprehensive cancer centers. And just to take a step back and say, what are comprehensive cancer centers? They're basically a designated center, and the designation is provided by the National Cancer Institute. And that basically says that this place is of such and such a level of quality in terms of their delivery of cancer care and their research that they perform. And so these are generally larger academic centers that have a lot of clinical trials, have a lot of experts across different cancer types, including AML. And those are the ones that we were wondering if people had equal or equitable access to. In other cancers compared to AML, a lot of the disparities in clinical trial participation is really because these different minoritized groups have less access to these comprehensive cancer centers. So they could really never be considered for trials because they're just not seen at places where the trials are taking place. This is the case for a lot of common solid tumors, such as breast and colon cancer, where very, very large proportions of patients are seen in the community. And this means that in leukemia, however, we found that participation disparities were not only due to access, but because leukemia is less common, because a lot of docs actually almost preemptively refer some of their patients to get seen, some of the disparity is kind of shifted, and it ends up becoming not as much an issue just of access, but also of getting onto the trial after they're seen at the center. And this can be because of a variety of things. There's reasons that we can go into in a second, but we kind of also want to make this statement in the context of it not being a one-size-fits-all answer. There are some cases where comprehensive cancer centers actually both allow great access and allow equitable enrollment on their trials, and there's other comprehensive cancer centers that have had and continue to have issues with this. So I also just want to make sure to make that distinction. But after somebody gets onto a center, you have the process of, is there a trial at that center that's actually right for your specific type of leukemia and the stage of the disease, and kind of if you're upfront or relapsed or all these other nuances. And then you have the questions of, are you eligible? Are you offered that trial? And then are you interested in partaking in that trial? And is it feasible for you to participate? So there are all these other steps kind of after that point of access. And in general, what we saw was that it was kind of these later steps that were as much or more of an issue for equitable enrollment for leukemia as kind of that first step of access. And so it's slightly different from what we've seen in other cancers, and means that the answers and the solutions for that are going to be different. So my activation tip for this question would be for patients to ask about where the nearest sites of care are for them that have clinical trials, at least historically, and then reaching out to those sites to ask, can I have a consultation? Am I somebody who might be eligible for any of the clinical trials that you have? That might be something where it does take you to that site to actually get evaluated and see if there are anything available, but that would kind of be the first step.